Welcome to the Subway Conversation Chat. Now that we have the 4th of July behind us, the New York Yankees are still celebrating with fireworks as their rookie first baseman, Ben Rice, hit 3 home runs in one game on Saturday, beating the Red Sox 14-4. Ain't that Rice, folks? Hello, my name is Jamie Malloy, and I'm here to talk some Yankees/Mets baseball with you all. But first, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Joe Dalio. So, everybody, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
It is going great. You were talking about fireworks there, and we're getting fireworks of a different kind here today in Buffalo, New York. Not known for tornadoes, but not near me, not in the city, but down not too far from Orchard Park. So better stay away from that new stadium that's being built down there. But other than that, things are going good. Had an excellent fourth. How about yourself? How's everything going there?
Good. I had an excellent fourth. I went swimming in my pool, and I watched the Nathan's Famous Eating Hot Dog competition. Listened to the Yankees lose 8-4 on the radio. But other than that, it was a great day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was actually playing golf on the 4th of July. Didn't expect courses to be open, but had an opportunity and got out to play. So very happy about that as well.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, Joe, would you like to get us start off with some Mets updates?
All right. Yeah, we got some news in Mets land. I'll start with Mr. Intelligent here, Edwin Diaz, who finally was activated off the suspension list there for some sticky hands there. Nobody was going to notice it anyway, though, right? But national TV, of course, he got caught. But anyway, he's back, and I guess they're putting him right in there. He pitched 3 games this week and did okay. He did blow a save, which wasn't necessarily his fault. Usually he's coming in the beginning of an inning with nobody on. If I'm not mistaken, he inherited some base runners and let the run score and got, zapped with a blown save. So not all his fault on that one. He did end up with 2 saves, though, and a win. In fact, that game where he technically blew the save, he got a win out of that. So we'll talk about more pitching stats later on. But, certainly good to have Edwin Diaz back just for, depth purposes in the bullpen, a bullpen that needs a lot of help these days. And again, we'll talk about that when we talk stats and stuff. So other than that, the Mets got some more depth for the bullpen there. A pitcher, Phil Maton, I think his name is. He came from the Tampa Bay Rays, and they just got him for cash. So perhaps he can add at least, again, some depth and some maybe effectiveness to that bullpen there. A couple other things, not that we've heard a lot from him this year, but yesterday they designated Joey Lucchesi, a veteran pitcher, for assignment. I thought he might get more time with the Mets. He was in the minors, but really not doing much here. They had picked him up last year, but never really made much of a contribution. And again, he was designated for assignment yesterday. Also yesterday, some exciting news here about Kodai Senga. He continues his rehab, and he's definitely getting closer to coming up with the Mets, but he got a rehab start in Syracuse yesterday. And he only pitched 2 2/3 innings, but still no earned runs, a couple of hits that he gave up in those innings, but the reviews were good. And so definitely there's some positive encouragement there as we can expect to see Senga, I think, sooner than later now for the Mets there. So that's basically it. No major updates on the injury news we provided. I mean, Marte's still out, and some pitching guys out there, Sean Reed-Foley, et cetera. And that's basically Drew Smith, unfortunately, going to be having surgery. So other than that, nothing really new going on there. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Jamie, for some Yankees news.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. And as always, we're going to start out with the injury report, and we're going to start out with Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton has been working out, getting ready to come back to the Yankees lineup. The 34-year-old should be getting to the point where he is ready to play after the All-Star break. Aaron Booth said yesterday. I can hear standing right now. He's saying, "Put me in, coach.
Yeah.
Ready to play."
Is he ready to play center field?
No, second base.
All right, I tried.
First base, actually first base.
Okay.
And then after that, thank you guys. I'm glad you appreciate my singing. But let's move on to Scott Afros. Afros threw a scoreless inning last Wednesday for AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. The right-handed pitcher gave him one walk while striking out one batter. He is expected back after the All-Star break. And next, we have JT Brubaker. On July 5th, Brubaker was relocated from AA Somerset to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Obtained from Pittsburgh on March 29th, the right-hand pitcher is recovering from Tommy John surgery. This is going to be a recurring theme with the Yankees bullpen. They're all recovering from Tommy John surgery, so we should be calling them the Tommy John surgery Yankees. The Bombers expect to have Brubaker's return sometime in the second half of the season. So let's now turn it over to Joe for some more Mets news. Joe?
Yeah, it's funny that you were talking about the Tommy John surgeries and everything like that. I forget who it was, but we talk about all the time about how certainly we don't think anyway because of the pitch clock. And, just the way they baby these pitchers and stuff like that. And one of the announcers on national TV, forget who it was now. I don't know if it was Smoltz or David Cohn or somebody, but they were actually talking about that, kind of going along the same lines that we were talking about here, how, they're totally babying these pitchers and not giving them enough innings, coming up so that by the time they get to this level and they're forced to, they're forced to do that. Actually, it might have been on the Mets broadcast last night. I'm not sure of it. But somebody was talking about this because they were talking about Christian Scott and how, again, he's getting a lot of innings now and things like that. So, glad that somebody agreed with us here as far as, some of the reasoning behind these more pitching injuries here, and just let these guys get conditioned and throw some innings. I understand you got to be careful with them when, with these young arms and you want to get them to this level. But you know what, if they do get to this level, they're not going to be ready and they're not going to be prepared. And that's one of the things that's going to be causing injuries. So just wanted to throw that out there since you brought up, the whole Tommy John thing. So anyway, we'll talk about the Mets here. They were 3-3 this week, so not the end of the world. Can't complain about that. Now, a couple of complaints I do have is they choked away a lead last Wednesday that, we were on the air talking about how the Mets were winning that game, and they actually ended up losing it. That was to the Nationals, and then they lost like 1-0 the next day. So they split a 4-game series with the Pirates as well. Now, one of those, they happened to give up 14 runs. It was just one of those games. I was watching it with my parents. Had a great few days with them. So if they're watching, thank you for an amazing few days here. Again, 3 days of golf with my father and one with my brother-in-law. So very happy about that. But anyway, getting back to this, we were just kind of watching this just go from bad to worse to worser. It was just one of those games that almost got comical as it went along. And again, the Pirates, I think they had 2 grand slams in that game. They hit, I think they broke a team record or tied a team record for home runs in a game. They had like 6 or 7. So it was crazy, definitely crazy to watch. But so, when I say that the Mets were outscored 32-19 here, that factors in that 14-2, outlier there. So, instead of, giving up 5 runs a game, they really only gave up, if you take that 14-run game away, they gave up about 3.5 per game, which certainly is, a lot better, average there. So they're at 500 here after 90 games, 45-45. And again, this in the beginning of the season, this is exactly where, I thought they'd be. And a lot of the experts thought they'd be. again, in the thick of the playoff hunt here, mediocre. Didn't account for the seesaw here. I mean, they just had an awful May, an amazing June, and now basically, pretty even here in July. So just going over some stats real quick here. Brandon Nimmo had a great week, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, in those 6 games. So 8 strikeouts, which is a little un-Brandon Nimmo-like, but nothing to be too concerned about. 929 OPS. Now, I'm going to talk about him as far as All-Star break in a second. But just going over some of these other stats here, Francisco Lindor had an excellent week as well. A home run, 5 RBIs, 944 OPS this week, which is certainly above average. Harrison Bader, nothing as far as power, but he had a 429 batting average this week. Some guy named Jeff McNeil seems to be waking up a little bit. He had that awful first half. He had the only other home run for the Mets. Now in June, I think the Mets led the league in home runs, or they were close to that. But this week, only 4. So again, Nimmo, Lindor, and then McNeil had the other home run. 2 RBIs, 794 OPS, which is higher than where he's been. I watched him a few times, though. There was so many at-bats he had where he absolutely smacked the ball. He hit it very hard. He was just hitting it right at people or hitting it deep, and they were catching it. So that's got to be encouraging there. The fact that, these hard hits eventually even out, and they're going to go for hits or home runs or things like that. Now, Pete Alonso was the lone Met that was voted to the All-Star game. And, he's got 15 home runs, 48 RBIs, 772 OPS, which are good statistics. But I think you can make an argument that Nimmo and, even Lindor might deserve the nod over him. Again, Alonso's got 15 home runs. Nimmo has 58 RBIs compared to Alonso's 48, and an 826 OPS compared to 772 for Alonso. Again, even Lindor, who has, I think Alonso's got 18 home runs, not 15. I wrote it down wrong, but still, he's got a few more home runs, but 10 more RBIs for Nimmo. Lindor has 16 home runs and 48 RBIs and a 776. He's got 16 stolen bases, though, which is good. So you could make an argument. Now, Alonso is going into the home run derby, and perhaps, I don't know if you have to be in the All-Star game for that, but otherwise, I don't know. I think Nimmo got snubbed there, and I would have loved to see him get an All-Star nod. Just a guy who puts his heart and soul into everything there, as having a great season, and it would have been amazing to see him get rewarded for that. So, kind of sorry that he didn't get in there. So anyway, talking about pitching, now there's a big difference between the starting pitching and the relief pitching. And the hottest pitcher that the Mets have right now is certainly Jose Quintana. He pitched 2 games this week, 14 innings. He went 7, both of those starts. And check out these stats. In those 14 innings, he gave up 5 hits and no earned runs. A .64 WHIP, walks and hits the innings pitched, and the teams hit 111 against him. So great to see. He was mediocre the first half of the year, but again, giving the Mets good innings a lot of the time. And here, certainly going 2 starts in a row and giving up no earned runs in those starts. That's amazing. So good to see, and hopefully he can continue that. Sean Manaea had a great start too. He had 6 innings pitched, only gave up 2 hits and no earned runs in those, with a .83 WHIP and a 105 batting average against. So definitely another quality start there. Luis Severino gave the Mets 6 innings. He did get hit hard there. He gave up 7 runs and 9 hits in those innings. But again, especially the way the bullpen's pitching lately, certainly good to have him giving them some innings here. Christian Scott went yesterday. 5 2/3, only 1 hit, 1 walk. So if you add that up, that's a .35 whip, which is pretty darn good. His only mistake, he gave up a 2-run home run in that start yesterday, but the Mets ended up winning that game. Now, very poor relief here, and I'll just give you some stats. Reed Garrett pitched 3 games. You look at these ERAs, 10.13 for Reed Garrett. Adrian Hauser, going back to pitching more like Doogie Howser here, 2 games, a 10.8 ERA. Daniel Nunez pitched 3 games, a 7.71 ERA. I watched Adam Ottavino try to give a game away last night. He just looked clueless on the mound. He pitched a third of an inning, gave up 2 hits, 2 earned runs. So that equates to a 54 ERA for that game there. And again, you just saw him afterwards and he looked clueless. And again, these relievers with leads doing everything they can to give the leads back and choke these games away. So, hopefully that changes. Again, we saw their potential the first half of the season. I mean, the bullpen was definitely above average, or at least the first 2 months. So hopefully they can get back on track. And again, if they can continue, the starters can continue to give quality innings here, it'll make a big difference and keep the Mets in games and get them some wins. And again, with Senga coming back, I didn't mention David Peterson, but, he's been pitching decent. He's been throwing a lot of pitches, so they've been taking him out earlier. He hasn't been having those long starts, only like 4+, the last couple of games, even though they were winning both of those games when he left. And I think they ended up winning both of them as well. So a lot of pitching depth here, again, where they're sending people, like McGill to the minors and having Jose Butto coming out of the bullpen. A lot of depth there. And again, these guys are pitching quite well. So coming up here now, we got the game tonight. They were losing 2-1 last I checked before we went on the air here. So the Nats tonight and an afternoon game tomorrow. And then a 3-game series against the Rockies at Citi Field this weekend. So I'm looking at this and thinking, go 4-1 in these games going into the All-Star break. I think they can certainly do that. They've basically had the Nationals number here. I think they've won 5 out of 7 against them this year. And in the last couple of seasons, too, they've been playing well against the Nationals. So again, there's no reason, again, with the Rockies coming in here too, that the Mets can't win 4 out of 5 of those games. And I think they should be able to do that. So it'd be a great way to go to the All-Star break, get them right in that playoff picture coming back out of that. And, that's basically it as far as the Mets are concerned here going on. So I'm going to send it back to you, Jamie. And I know the Yankees are struggling a little bit, but why don't you tell us some things going on over there?
I will, but first, Joe, I have a question for you about Pete Alonso. Do you think that he got put into the All-Star game because they wanted him in the home run derby, and that he told them that if he would put him in the All-Star game if he was in the home run derby? If they told him to put in that, he would be put in the All-Star game as well?
Yeah, I don't know what the rules are. Like, can you be in the home run derby without actually being in the All-Star game? Do you know that?
I think you can. I believe so.
Okay. And I do too. I mean, I think that to answer your question, I think it did have something to do with that. I mean, Pete Alonso's the bigger name, of course, overall, when you talk about the Mets and the rest of the country, non-Mets fans, of course, they're probably going to want to see Pete Alonso there instead of, Brandon Nimmo. Even though, again, Mets fans, I think, know for the most part that Nimmo deserves it more. But I think the home run derby does have something to do with that. And not just being biased as a Met fan, but I honestly think Alonso's going to win that home run derby again. He's primed for it. He hasn't had his best season. So to win that, something that means probably more to him than probably any of those players, I think would be a major highlight for Alonso. And I think he's going to be really pumped up and primed for it. So I honestly think Alonso wins that home run derby. But yeah, to answer your question, I think that might have something to do with him getting in.
You heard it first here on Driving to the Top Production, folks. Joe D'Aleo says Pete Alonso is going to win the home run derby.
I am. Now I'm going to put some change on it. I'm not responsible for any of you that lose money off it, but if it doesn't happen, there's my pick. I definitely think Alonso is the one.
Okay, and then thank you for answering that, Joe. Now we're going to move on to a Yankees prospect who made the futures game, and he's a name that's kind of been tossed around, and but he's a great prospect, and he's now playing for the Double-A Somerset Patriots. We're going to talk about Spencer Jones. Who? Spencer Jones. Who? Spencer Jones. Instead of Mike Jones. Except he's not tipping on fofos though. Spencer Jones. Anyway, this is a very promising future for the Yankees prospect. Outfielder Spencer Jones has been named to his second futures game along with righty starting pitcher Brock. I'm a selvage. Classic, Bushy, Ratchet. The number 2 ranked Yankees prospect was taken number 25 overall by the Yanks in the 2022 MLB draft. Since then, he's risen through the Yankees minor league system and is currently playing for the Double-A Somerset Patriots. Jones is hitting .252 with a .752 OPS, 9 home runs, and 45 RPIs with the Patriots. Jones is likely at least a year away from the MLB as he has yet to be called up to Scranton A. Wilkes-Barre. So, Joe, what do you think about Spencer Jones as a prospect who I compare him to Aaron Judge? He's 6'6", and I'm going to use your line. He's another type of player who, like Aaron Judge, is perfect for Yankee Stadium because he's 6'6", and he can pop the ball out at Yankee Stadium for a home run. So what do you think of a prospect like this who could be another version of Aaron Judge if he makes the big leagues?
Yeah, it's definitely exciting for Yankee fans. I'll admit I don't know too much about him at this point. You know a lot more, than I do there. But always exciting to have a player like that, especially when they're comparing him to somebody like Judge, who we all know what he's done. So, I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open, even though, like you said, he's probably a year away or so. But, I'm sure if you're a prospect, too, in the Yankees system, and you have that same, kind of mentality, you're going to look forward to playing games in Yankee Stadium. I mean, because of the mystique of it and the history. But, of course, you pop that ball up to right field and bye-bye, in the middle of July especially. So, love it. So, yeah, again, you got my eyes open now. I'll certainly be watching his progress.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we're done with that. Let's move on to the top 7 trade deadline targets for New York. So it's almost here, folks. With the MLB trade deadline approaching on July 30th, we have decided to take a look at a lot of the targets the New York Yankees are looking for. From big name first basemen to shutdown closers, the Bronx Bombers have a plethora of players to make deals with other teams. Here are the top 7 trade deadline candidates for the New York Yankees. Number 1, we have Garrett Crochet, left-handed pitcher from the Chicago White Sox. Mm-hmm. As if nobody already knew, the Chicago White Sox have been selling their team since the city's based musical production in the 1930s, Chicago. Nevertheless, that does not mean that White Sox pitcher Garrett Crochet won't turn into a superstar with the Yankees. After missing all of 2022 with Tommy John surgery, so he fits the bill right there, of Yankees pitchers recovering from Tommy John surgery, he has ace numbers. The pitcher has a 3.05 ERA. It leads the American League with 130 strikeouts. The Yankees could use another starting arm, which would allow for a 7-man pitching rotation. Wowza. And number 2, we've talked about him a lot in this podcast. Any of you Bravo fans listening, you know him as Brielle Bierman's ex-boyfriend from Don't Be Tardy, but the baseball world knows him as Mr. Michael Kopech from the White Sox, of course, right-handed pitcher. We have another Chicago White Sox pitcher up for trade here. Shocker. The flame-throwing bullpen pitcher has regressed after being a highly touted prospect in 2017. Still, the man who could throw 101 miles an hour and produce strikeouts has potential to be a star. It's just not going to be with the bumbling White Sox. As DJ Khaled famously said, the Yankees could grab another one from the White Sox. Number 3, we have another flame-throwing closer, Mason Miller, or Eminem, I call him, right-handed pitcher from the Athletics. Why in their right mind would the Oakland A's trade a reliever in the making before the team departs for Sacramento in 2025 and then Las Vegas in 2028? That's a rhetorical question. The 103-mile-an-hour flamethrower pours nothing but gas onto the fire of hitters who strike out. If he comes to the Yankees, maybe Mariano Rivera will let Miller walk out to enter Sandman. As a visiting team, your hitters don't want to hear that song being played again.
No, definitely not.
And now we're going to move on to number 4. Josh, you can ring my bell. Ring my bell. First baseman of the Miami Marlins. Oh, another selling team.
Mm-hmm.
After they sold off Miami Vice back in the day, now they have a baseball team that they're selling. After winning a Silver Slugger Award in 2022, Bell has had a slow first half with 8 long balls and a 683 OPS in 79 games. He would be worth $8 million a year, but it would be a cheaper upgrade over Anthony Rizzo. Plus, he can revive his career while donning the pinstripes. Number 5, we have Carlos Estevez, pitcher of the Angels. Estevez is a resurging closer the Yankees could add as a rental player to the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Problem with this is Clay Holmes made it to the AL All-Star roster, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Number 6, we have Tanner Scott, pitcher of the Miami Marlins. Scott is another potential closer the Yankees could add, but why bother? I guess if they want to go closer by committee or have Holmes and Scott, to rotate every other night, then that's okay. He does boast a 146 ERA, an 11 OPA whip with 12 saves and only two blown saves in 36 games. Number 7, there was a pitcher named Kyle Finnegan. He plays for the Nationals on his chin again. Anyway, Finnegan has a 1.7 WAR to 28 saves and a 9.64 ERA. Wait, that's not right. And a 9.64 in 38 games. His contract ends in 2026, and the Nationals have a slim but unlikely chance of the playoffs. Welcome to the Bronx, Kyle Finnegan. Begin again. So, Joe, what do you think of these top 7 deadline names for the Yanks to consider? Now, we talk about these would be nice additions, but then again, it goes to the needs versus wants. So give us your wisdom on the needs versus wants.
All right. So as you talk about these, and we've talked about this a lot on this podcast, and how they have to be careful, even though they're the Yankees, you got to be careful how you spend. Again, they got some guy Soto. That's the number 1 priority, in my opinion. And you don't want to lose that opportunity. Now, the Yankees, with the money here that they always have, they can afford some kind of a rental player here to get him going. And that's so that when deciding on which player to get, as I hear these names, where is the greatest need, first of all, and combine that with, and again, I don't know the contract status on most of these guys. I have one of the guys in mind that you mentioned here, but again, which area do you need it the most, and what's the contract situation there? Because why not pick up somebody who, again, maybe is going to be a free agent this year, probably going to be a rental, can definitely help you get to or win a World Series here, and then you move on from there. So the type of player there. Now, again, you don't need a second closer there. So any of those, late inning relief guys, I think you eliminate them, even though, again, every 7 of those names that you mentioned would certainly be, great additions to any team, and certainly the Yankees. Now, the one that stood out that you mentioned there was Josh Bell. I think, and again, I don't know what his contract situation is. He hasn't been staying with teams very long, so certainly wouldn't be an issue there. The Yankees have a need right now for a first baseman, even though Rice is playing well. And again, what do you got to do to hit the home run at Yankee Stadium?
Pop the ball out to the right
Pop
side
it up.
of the right field porch. Pop it up. Like, what are you going to do, Tommy? Knock it down. What are you going to do, Joe? Pop it up.
That's it. And you know what? Josh Bell is very good at doing these days, popping the ball up. So, I'm being a little sarcastic there, but, he certainly has power, would certainly do well at Yankee Stadium. So, again, you don't need poor old Michael Finnegan to start again and get going there. He's again, good pitcher, but I prefer him on the Nationals because I think the Mets hit him quite well. So, keep him on the Nationals so the Mets can get to him. But, those starting pitchers that you had mentioned sound awfully good. Those 2 White Sox, Kopech and Crochet. Now, I don't know what, again, Crochet being at his point might not be a good fit there because he wouldn't exactly be a rental that might suit them in this situation where maybe Kopech would be. So, because he's been with the White Sox for a while and he might not be tied up by contract for too long here. So if they feel like that maybe starting pitching is the greater need than first base, for example, then maybe Kopech is where you go in a situation like that. So out of the names you mentioned, again, great players anybody would want to have, but I would go with Bell first and, then Kopech maybe as the second option there. How would you order it? Like, what do you think there? Yeah, you would know this better than me, being from the Yankees standpoint. What's your opinion on that?
To be honest, I think they could go for these players, but don't be surprised if Cashman's content with staying with what he has and letting it ride out because these are the same players that they have now that started out hot before they went on a losing streak too. So,
and what do we say all the time? It's a 162 game season. Again, we saw how good this team is. They're in a slump. And maybe it's a little more extended now than we thought it was going to be, but they're still,
3 games out behind Baltimore.
Yeah, there's still 70 plus games left, and still plenty of time. And, if they get hot, going down, towards the end of the season here, then watch out. Because again, this team that we already know how good it is gets some positive momentum and gets on a roll. Nobody might be able to stop them, come postseason there. So a little bit opposite though. Typically, I always remember the great Yankee teams always starting slow. And non-Yankee fans thinking, oh, good, this is finally the year. The Yankees aren't going to go anywhere. And then in July and August, they go 50 wins and 5 losses. I'm exaggerating, but
that was back when they basically bought the entire team, though. And obviously nowadays they've changed the pay scale a lot since then. But
that's true. But, that always sticks in my head. It's like, it's what am I getting excited for? We know they're going to be unbeatable in the summer. And sure enough, they usually are. So this kind of goes against that grain. They started off amazing, and now that it's summer, they're struggling. But again, I'm not sure if and when it happens. But like I said, if this team gets on a roll with how good they are and the talent that they have, and maybe they do pick up some guy that sparks the team, they could be unstoppable later on. Now they are going to have to do something fast because, if this slump continues for a long time, then you got some concerns in there, and it's like, oh shoot, maybe maybe this is not going to change. But I definitely would be much more surprised if that happened than if they get on a roll and really end the season on a high note, going high into the postseason. So I really think that's the more likely scenario, is that they get hot and steamroll through and go far. But I guess we'll see. But again, they can make smart decisions, and if I'm sure Yankees fans trust the management there to do the right thing.
Exactly. I think they do. And speaking of the GM, let's move on to Brian Cashman on the Yankees. Slide, slippity slide, as the late Coolio made famous for. Except I don't think Cashman's going to be talking about a fantastic voyage right now with his team.
No.
But, anyway, the season is going south, and I'm not talking about the mass exodus of New Yorkers moving to Florida or the birds in the north migrating to Florida for the winter. On June 14th, 2024, the Yankees rose from their Boston hotel rooms, having no doubt they are the best team in the MLB. But after that, things went south. The Yankees were swept at Fenway Park and haven't won a series since. They are now 0-7-1 heading into tonight's game against the Tampa Bay Rays after losing 5-3 last Tuesday night. Brian Cashman described it in a way the longtime GM can, which is pretty much a cliche, but it's true in this point. So anyway, we're gonna quote him here. It's been a struggle, obviously, Cashman said. Thankfully, we got out of the gates really strong. Hopefully that cushion will allow us to work through this, hopefully sooner than later, because it's gone on long enough. It's been a tough stretch for us. And so, Joe, he's basically saying what you're saying. He trusts his staff, and he already knows how good they started out, and luckily they still have room to get hot again.
Definitely. And I think they will.
Mm-hmm. And so, Joe, as I told you, when the Mets were struggling, that they could turn it around and they were in their slump, and they did. Can you say the same thing to me about the Yanks right now? Because I told you it would happen with the Mets, and they did turn their streak around.
Yeah, I think the Yankees' chance of turning their negative streak around is much better than I would have thought about the Mets back then. Again, talent-wise, just the Yankees are a step above there. And again, like I said a few minutes ago, I'd be more surprised if the Yankees stayed in this tailspin than if they went on another hot streak. And I just think it's a matter of time before they do.
Yep, I think we could both agree on that. So as Yankee fans, we've seen this the previous two seasons. The Yankees started 61-23 in 2022 before limping towards the playoffs with a 38-4 record, courtesy of Aaron Judge's historic 62 home run campaign. And they did manage to still make the ALCS, but get swept by the Astros that year. Mm-hmm. And then last year, the Yankees started out a very mid for them, 36-25 in 2023. But remember, there were a lot of look at the way the baseball playoff format is. Last year, there were a lot of mid teams that started out the way the Yankees did. And who knows, if Judge didn't have a season-ending injury, they fell to 82-80 and missed the playoffs. Maybe the Yankees could have made one of those runs that people wanted to see, that Arizona and Texas made. And remember, the 82-80, the Yankees, that was highlighted by all the Yankees rookies playing at the end of the year, all their prospects playing, and it highlighted with a sweep of the Astros in the road late in the year, a 4-game sweep it was. So there was still some memorable moments even in the lost season from that year to last year. So Cashman sees this season much differently than the last two. And I agree with him, because I think this team's a lot deeper than they were last year. Even the team 2 years ago, I don't think they were as deep as they are now. And they're more versatile with positions that they can play now. And anyway, we have a quote, Cashman here. I think every year is different, Cashman said. I think those teams are different and some of the issues are different. You also have Giancarlo Stanton still out, But even during the stretch, you had the development of promising young rookie first baseman slash catcher Ben Rice during his stretch. Rice made history last Saturday by becoming the first Yankee rookie to jack 3 home runs in a game. The Yankees beat the Red Sox 14-4. Rice, baby. We're in the Rice age. Anyway, Joe, your thoughts on this whole Yankees losing stretch and what's gone on?
Yeah, like I said, I'm surprised it's been this long. Every team, even the best teams, championship teams, go on slumps in a 162 game season, and obviously the Yankees are no exception. But the only thing that surprises me is again that I would have expected them to be out of it by now. So maybe it's just extending a little bit longer. But again, if I was a Yankee fan at this point, I would not be so concerned. Again, they're one trade, one guy coming in being a spark plug, one guy that's currently on the roster going on a tear and getting hot. Starting pitchers just having 3 or 4 consecutive games where everybody, excels.
Stan getting healthy too, but
getting some of these guys back, yes, especially Stanton. Their bullpen's been pretty solid all year, and I don't really see that changing. So really, it's just a matter of time, in my opinion. It's just as far as them getting out of this. But like I said, the only thing is you just said, and I forgot the number, how many series in a row that they've lost. I really think that's going to change. Maybe they need an all-star break, and just start over and start fresh coming back from that and get back on the roll that they were on. So, you were talking about the playoff system. If the Arizona Diamondbacks can go to the World Series with the team they had last year, there's no reason the Yankees couldn't have done that either. And, that they're, certainly a World Series caliber team, even though it's in an extended slump. They would be on my short list of World Series contenders.
So we're going to turn it over now to you, Joe, again for some more Mets news. Joe?
Yeah, basically, I think I went through everything here, as far as, some important things going on, as far as news, as far as some of the stats. So, again, not just because I'm a Mets fan, but I think Pete Alonso wins the home run derby. And again, this is where we saw the Mets at the halfway mark. We're a little bit past the halfway mark now. But, in the beginning of the year, I said it, and, a lot of the Vegas experts said it, that basically they were going to be close to 500. Again, the way the system is set up, they hopefully be in the playoff running. And I'll tell you what, as a Mets fan, if this continues, I'm okay with how things turn out. If they, obviously, as we said in the beginning of the season, the goal, we didn't expect any division championships here, and that's not happening. But, again, playoffs was not an impossibility. Playoffs, we're not crazy for thinking that playoffs are an option. So, and here we are 90 games into the season, and we're there. Again, they're that mediocre team that we thought, but they're right in the thick of the playoff race here, and that is not out of the question. And I would not be surprised if they get in. Now, again, if they play like this all the way through, they play hard and they keep themselves in it. And, I see a team that cares, that's trying to win. As much as I want them to make the postseason, I'm okay, if even if they don't. If they go on a tailspin and just play out the string and just, tank the rest of the season, obviously I'm going to be ticked off about that, as every Mets fan should be. But I don't know, the way this team is and the way they're playing and they're playing with heart, that's all I wanted. And, if they can take it another level and go to the playoffs and maybe make some noise there, certainly, that's the main goal. But, that's how I see it here. There's a lot of things, though, that have gone right. Again, you got a mediocre starting pitching staff that's pitching way over their heads. again, we talk about it all the time about how they give quality innings, and there's very few bad starts. So, does that continue, or does the law of averages catch up with them, and then they tire out, or then and fade and don't get those 6-7 inning starts that they're getting now. Again, you got guys like Nimmo having career years. Does that continue, or does averages finally catch up? You got Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos and these young players that are playing amazing. You got Mr. Rapper himself, Jose Iglesias, OMG, playing like OMG kind of baseball a lot of the time. So how long does that continue? So again, there's a lot of those questions. Now, honestly, there's nothing telling me that the good things, these good things that I mentioned can't continue. Maybe these pitchers do keep, pitching as well as they are. Maybe Nimmo continues to have, at least a Mets MVP. He's not going to be like a, NL MVP, but potentially Mets MVP kind of player. And maybe that continues. Maybe Jeff McNeil continues to hit the ball hard and those hard outs that go, to the warning track or in a second baseman's glove, coming off the bat 100 miles an hour, maybe go into the gap. And, he gets, the better end of those hits, for once. So, there's a lot of questions. Maybe Kodai Senga comes in and really injects some energy into that already decent starting, pitching staff here. So, there's a lot of questions, but at here we are 90 games into the season, and the Mets are still relevant, and they're still fun to watch, and they still have a chance. And at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me that, I would have gladly accepted it.
Good to know. That's awesome, Joe. So, anyway, guess what, Joe? It is now time in our show for a question of the week segment. You're on a two game winning streak here. So you want to give it a try? You want to go for 3 in a row?
Am I? I thought I missed last week's question, but
no, you got half of it. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right, then. Yeah, let's see if I can get the whole thing here.
All right, Joe. This week, for nothing but the whole enchilada, here's your question.
I love enchiladas, by the way.
The record for the most hits in a single season? Is it Jason Giambi, the Giambino, Kevin Youkilis, Ichiro Suzuki, or you're on the mark, Teixeira?
All right, so this is the record for the number of hits in a season?
Yes.
Okay. I pretty confident in my answer here. Now, you said Jason Giambi, who I don't think he was known for his hitting. He was known for his power. Ichiro, Teixeira, and who was the other one there?
Kevin Youkilis.
Yeah, not that all right, I'm pretty confident here. I think it's Ichiro Suzuki.
You got it. It was Ichiro Suzuki. He had 262 hits in 2004. Congratulations, Joe.
Thank you. Well, let's keep the streak going, and there's no all-star break for us, so I'm going to keep going here.
Okay, so guess what? It's now time to talk about we're going to talk about Pat McAfee's and the Pirates' favorite rookie flamethrowing pitching superstar, Paul Skeens, making MLB history. It is history in the MLB by all Skeens. Paul Skeens made MLB history Friday night against the New York Mets. I'm sorry, Joe. We got to rehash this, but
I watched it firsthand.
Mm-hmm. The flamethrower has made at least 7 strikeouts in 9 of his 10 starts. The 22-year-old Fullerton, Cali native fanned 8 hitters in 7 innings, permitting just 2 runs and 4 hits. The Pirates went on to win the game 14-2. He has also earned a spot in his first All-Star game with his 5-0, 2.12 ERA and striking out Shohei Ohtani in June in only 3 pitches with his powerful 100-plus mile-an-hour fastball. He surely deserves a spot. So, Joe, do you think Skeens belongs in the All-Star game?
I absolutely think he belongs in the All-Star game. I don't care that he got called up late. I mean, this guy, he doesn't pitch like a rookie. I mean, if you didn't know he was a rookie, you would think he's been out. He's a seasoned veteran. Just the way he conducts himself out there. That was the first time I actually got to watch him pitch a game. I've seen highlights and stuff, but to watch him in that game, was kind of cool. But yeah, there was some people even thinking that he was going to get a start, and I didn't want to see that, only because I think there's other pitchers that deserve that a little bit more. But still, he definitely belongs in the All-Star game. He'll definitely get his time in there, and he's going to continue pitching well. Now, I hate to be a negative Nelly here and look at the negative. I'm usually a person that likes to look at the positive in things. But again, the way pitchers go these days, you can't get too excited because, is it a matter of time before he's gone, with some Tommy John issue? Is it a matter of time before, the Pirates to try to prevent that, maybe once they're, if they're out of the race at a certain point, do they pull the plug on him in late August or something? Those are things to keep an eye on. I certainly hope neither of those things happens.
Because look at what happened to Jared Jones. He's on the 15-day disable list.
Right. I mean, that happened pretty quick, but, hopefully the same thing doesn't happen to Skeens and we get to watch him, as much of this season as possible and as much as, many other seasons going forward. But, certainly, again, he does not conduct himself like a rookie. And I think that's one of the big reasons for his success, besides his amazing talent and the fact that he throws the ball 1,000 miles an hour and these guys just can't hit him. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the Pirates win his games. So many times you get pitchers like this that, throw well, but the team doesn't hit for him or the team doesn't win for him. It's not like the Pirates, again, they're a competitive team and they're not out of things, but it's not like they're, the Yankees or the Phillies or a team that wins a lot of games. They're under 500, but when Skeens pitches, they win those games. So that's another positive. With that. So
I think they're a year or two away from being good, though. They got a lot of young players on that team that are finally coming together.
Right, and that's how the Pirates have to build. And that's how they're doing it. They're doing it right. And they do have some very good talent there. And you're right. Another year or two, we might be seeing this team. And again, in a division where anybody can win, right? It's one of the weaker divisions in baseball, if not the weakest. So I don't be surprised if they're competing for a division in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. With Skeens leading the charge in exactly. That.
Good things happening for Paul Skeens. Congratulations there, and good things for the Pirates.
Definitely.
Anyway, let's move on to the Twins' Jose Miranda. Jose Miranda is going on a historic run this week, and it's not a coffee run, it's Starbucks. The Minnesota Twins infielder tied a major league record this week with a hit in 12 straight at-bats. He continued that tear on Saturday afternoon with singles in the second and fourth innings against the Houston Astros to tie the record. Miranda is keeping his talents in the family as cousin and Hollywood director Lin-Manuel Miranda broke out in 2020 with the popular musical Hamilton. Unlike in the scene where Hamilton doesn't get his shot, Jose is singing, "Yes, I am going to get my shot." And he has been taking every advantage of it and has been hot this week. So, Joe, what do you think that another member of the Miranda family dynasty is excelling at what he does? and even though it's baseball and not how with plays and everything.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't know that. I don't know where I've been, as I guess I wasn't paying attention, but because everybody pays attention to the Minnesota Twins, of course, but I wasn't aware of that. And we all know he's going to lead them to the World Series. Based on this baseball's playoff format, it's inevitable that we get this Twins Padres World Series in October. So gear up! We can't wait. And let Miranda lead the charge for the Twins to get there. But no, that's amazing. I've never seen that in my life, and over 50 years watching baseball. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. So, good for him, and hopefully he can, continue, hitting well. I mean, I know the Twins are playing some good baseball, and certainly, that's one of the reasons why.
Exactly. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, tell us, where can we find you on social media on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024?
All right. July of 2024 here. I am on Twitter X, Joe Dell Sports. You can find me and my opinions there.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And then you can find me, yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat. And also JB Beloy, the unbiased journalist at DJ Dog Tags on X, and theforkball.com, where I write about all sports. And you can even catch us here on Driving to the Top Productions. Last night was the date I got to join the debut of Driving to the Top Productions open mic. So if you want some comedic rants and some hot sports takes with some unfiltered views in it, come see that show every Tuesday at 8:00 p.m. on our YouTube page, Driving to the Top Productions, or our Twitch stream, wherever you get your podcast. And also, don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button. We need more subscribers. We're always trying to grow. That's why we're driving to the top. And to keep listening to me and Joe on the Subway Conversation Chat, you could tune into us every Wednesday night at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube page, Driving to the Top Productions, our Twitch stream, our Facebook page, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you very much for listening, folks. And get your New York sports here next week, Wednesday at 8:00 p.m. See you next week, folks.
Have a great week, everybody.